Next on our agenda is Dr. Orbach. Dr. Orbach is the Texas GoMRI Research Board member. He was the founding director of the University of Texas at Austin's Energy Institute, a multidisciplinary institute that combines the strengths of the university's schools and colleges to advance solutions to today's energy-related challenges. Dr. Orbach was also the chief scientist of the Department of Energy and advisor to Secretary Samuel Goldman on science policy, as well as all scientific aspects of the Department of Energy, including basic and applied research. And with that, I will turn things over to you, Dr. Orbach. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I'd like to thank Dr. Plotkin, the director of the Texas Sea Grant program that Rita has already mentioned, for hosting this event and her opening comments, and of course Danny for organizing this event. We've had a wonderful partnership with the Gulf of Mexico Sea Grant program, and we thank them for their leadership in the areas of outreach and communication. I would like to provide some brief context and history of the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative with respect to our state of Texas. There were two of us on the research board of GoMRI, appointed by the governor, myself through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and the other, as Rita has mentioned, Dr. Ciro Sumaya from Texas A&M. The two of us represented the two largest public universities in the state of Texas, and of course have programs directly connected to the Gulf itself. The next slide will give you some idea of one of those programs. The program, which is really a coordinated program called MOSFA, which focused on what we call marine oil snow. Marine snow is a standard product of decomposition of particles at the surface that then sink to the bottom of the Gulf. But of course, the Deepwater Horizon coated the surface with oil. That was broken down by the dispersants and then attacked by the bacteria. As a consequence, a new kind of snow was formed, not only with the normal ingredients, but also containing oil. And that would then sink to the bottom of the Gulf. And the issue, of course, was what does it do to the ecosystems? This interdepartmental, collaborative program was headed by the co-chair, Dr. Antonia Quigg, whom you will hear from in a few minutes, from Texas A&M. And the idea was, first of all, to see if we could understand the detailed nature of marine oil snow. And so, as you see on the left, that we were able, through research, to actually demonstrate its origin in the laboratory. And then on the right, you will see the description of where, in fact, it had gone. What we have learned is that, first of all, it brings a lot of carbon into the system, but also a lot of oil that would not otherwise be known is deposited on the floor of the Gulf by virtue of the marine oil snow. The next slide is another element in the Texas contribution to GoMRI. It's called DROPS. It was headed, as you will hear, by Ed Buskey from the Marine Science Institute in Port Aransas. And it focused on the opposite. It focused on the micro critters, micro creatures, the zooplankton, that form part of an integral part of the food chain, and then followed the consequences of the oil spill on these microorganisms. And as you will see on the left, there's a picture of a zooplankton that has in fact absorbed the oil. In addition, you will see on the right the way in which rain droplets and waves push these micro droplets of oil into the atmosphere. So it's not only a question of the life within the Gulf, but also the nature of the atmosphere above the Gulf that has been influenced by these micro droplets. The purpose of drops has been to measure the transport of oil, the interaction with hydrocarbon degrading bacteria, the interaction with marine phytoplankton, and all of these results were combined into a mesoscale model, which will be contained in the synthesis report and has resulted in a number of publications. The next slide amplifies some of the comments that Rita Colwell had made on the importance of outreach. It is one thing for the scientific community to develop the insights. It's another to transmit them to the public. And of course, the Sea Grant program has been integral in that transfer. But as part of our program, each of the consortia were required to develop an outreach program. And I just wanted to show some of the students and researchers that are involved in the program. On the left, you will see fourth graders after they deployed drifters out to sea in Port Aransas through the DROPS consortium. I show this because it exemplifies a different kind of outreach from the traditional classroom or podcast process, namely involvement. These youngsters were involved directly in the research project. It gave them a sense of what it's like to do research and of course the excitement that followed. On the right, you have a group of students and researchers from ADMEX, another of the consortia, that were involved in collecting samples from the research vehicle Trident from the Flower Gordon banks. I bring this up because this is the beginning of a study of the nature of what was contained in the water in terms of the bacterial community and so on. And you will see all ages involved in this. And again, it gives these students a chance to put their hands on real live research. So the outreach program of GoMRI has worked at all levels. We have already seen through Dr. Colwell's presentation the number of postdocs, but these are the future scientists that will continue this collaboration and we hope will be moved by their experience. Finally, the last slide is a tribute to the other Texas representative on the research board, Professor Ciro Sumaya. He was, in my view, really father of our human element research program. When GoMRI started, there were, of course, foci, as Rita has already shown, on the physical and chemical consequences of the spill. But the human impact remained to be developed. And when we first had our request for proposals, it was rather sparse in the human element. And so literally, Dr. Sumaya put together a workshop, the first workshop in 2013 to develop a program on the human health impact. They produced a report which has been archived in the GoMRI materials that talked about the human impact and the impact on the social environment as well as the health environment of individuals. That beginning has led to some major contributions that have been part of the GoMRI legacy. In particular, we have put together a program that talked about the key elements from the human dimensions of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill related to mental health, economic, community distress, and provided recommendations on improving Gulf Coast communities and their ability to deal with the risks of a large oil spill. Finally, that study has led to a proposal for a community health observation or observing system. The point is, looking forward, we need to develop a systematic way of following human responses to impacts such as the Deepwater Horizon explosion and spill. Unfortunately, Dr. Sumaya succumbed in the last few years, and we have lost him. It's a tragic loss, but we are deeply grateful to Dr. Sumaya for all that he has done, and we hope that his legacy will continue, as you have heard, for the indefinite future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Orbach. We appreciate your comments.